Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. I want to remind everybody.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. But you know what? I need my clap for my sync, so I got to do it again. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. All right, how's everybody doing? I trust everybody's doing just fine. Welcome aboard, Patrick Magner. Was the first one in today. You won the prize. Second in, Yvette Avery Herod de Donde, Atlanta, Georgia. Patrick is from Houston. We have AVQ from Brooklyn, New York, and Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita in the house. We missed our first few dozen on Substack, but we have Judith Fendley in the house. John A. Davis in the house. Do You Lie is in the house. Anyway, folks, we're going to have a great show for you. Jay Ray is roaring. Good afternoon, Jay Ray. Look, I want to first get you guys started off with a Social Security video, but I have an important interview. And the reason I'm not going to start with the interview with the interview from the Economist is I want to get more people in first. So what I'm going to do is give you a cleaned up copy of a thing I did on social, you know, that letter that people got from Social Security, that little crap thing that they got. I'm going to play that one first. But beforehand, I want to say, let's see if I got to salute anybody else here. Para ver. All right, let's go ahead and play that piece. And then we'll return, talk to you a bit. And then we're going to get to that economist that's going to talk about both tariffs and OBBB. Important, you need to listen to this guy. Very good interview that I just did with him this morning. I called him up, said, hey, man. Actually, I emailed him. Said, hey, I love the article that you wrote recently. Would like to have you on our show. Our audience would really get a lot out of you. Ken Barnes, welcome aboard, as well as Robert Murray, welcome aboard. But here we go, and then we'll take it on the other side. I want to remind everybody, especially those of you that are over 65, you got an email directly from the Social Security office praising the greatness of our great Führer, El Señor Donald Trump. And it told you that, hey, guys, guess what? I fulfilled a promise. I am giving you guys a tax cut for you Social Security people. And, look, Donald Trump knows how to put lipstick on a whole lot of pigs and dinosaurs and that sort of stuff. What most are going to find out is that they are getting nothing. And once again, that which he brags about in that letter that he sent to millions of Social Security recipients, the telephone calls are going to rip the Social Security lines up, because people are going to find out there ain't no tax cuts for them because of the standard deduction as it is already. Most people won't be able to take advantage of that addition to the standard deduction that would actually reduce the amount of taxes they pay if they make over that particular income level that Social Security still allows you to make. Remember, half of Social Security recipients only make $30,000 or less. So therefore, that group doesn't make or doesn't get any tax cuts at all. This is in section of the bill. I just wanted everybody to know who wants to fact check me. It's a humongous bill. And people may say, yeah, but that's not what Trump is saying. I'm going to believe Trump. Just go to section 70103. It's called the termination of deduction of personal exemption other than temporary senior deduction. That is where it can be found. The bill eliminates the personal exemption deduction for most taxpayers, which used to allow around $4,400 to $4,300 to be deducted per person. However, it retains a specific deduction for seniors, those age 65 or older, labeling it a temporary senior deduction. Remember how this bill works. Anything for the middle class or the working class has an expiration of 2 years, or the remainder of Donald Trump's term. I want you guys to understand that. All the big deductions and tax cuts that are made permanent are the ones that address corporations and rich people. The deductions for you, the working class, meaning tax on tips, no tax on overtime, even though most people can't really take advantage of all of those things. For those who can, the working class who can, it only applies. It's a temporary tax cut. It's a temporary thing. After Trump leaves office, it's gone. But everything for the wealthy lasts forever. Well, it lasts until we decide to get a spine and elect people who says we won't allow the wealthy to take advantage of us anymore. These are things that, as they advertise it on TV, as you watch Fox News and even MSNBC and CNN, we give Donald Trump and his minions the ability to use our airwaves to lie to us, or misinform us, mislead us. And then when most people start to call the Social Security offices and ask, hey, I just paid my taxes and it turns out I'm paying more, or it turns out I'm paying the same. What's going on? There's nobody to report that. Nobody's out there to report that. So remember that when you fill out your taxes this year, for most Americans, there's nothing for you. It's all hoopla, and you will see it yourself as you pay your taxes out. The most important thing to realize is that this bill, Donald Trump decided that the easiest people to screw were the people who believed in him, the poor people who worshiped him. Those are the ones who get screwed in this bill, because the bottom 20% will find out that their financial situation is substantially worse because of what they lose in SNAP, because of what they lose in healthcare, because of what they lose in their dignity. The senior deduction functions more like a concession than a relief, than a tax relief, by ending the universal personal exemption and offering only a partial replacement for seniors, and only temporarily. The bill shifts more of the burden downward. In reality, most low and middle income seniors already pay little to no tax on their Social Security due to existing income thresholds. This means the new deduction disproportionately helps wealthier seniors with larger non-Social Security income, like investments or pension incomes. I need you all to understand these concepts, because these are the things that you should be asking your red state congressperson as they come and advertise what this bill is going to do for you. It's going to do nothing for you, if not make your life worse.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where
Sorry about that. Anyhow, folks, yep. So that Social Security thing that you're seeing there, folks, it's not real. They as usual either mislead you or they lie to you, one or the other. A constancy, a constancy, a constancy. Anyway, let's see who else we've got in the house. It seems like Harry Denson is in the house. He said, "Good afternoon." Lee the Bearcat from Austin, Texas. Harry from Missouri City, Texas. We also have Lee Grant from Montgomery County. Do You Lie says, "They will make this campaign issue in 2028. Yes, they will." Bonic G Minder, welcome. Jennifer Hunter. Marge, how you doing, Marge? KJ, great to see you here, beautiful. Karen Stanton is in the house as well. All right, we have a very important video to show you, and make sure to share this, folks. This is a solid. Well, let me just go ahead and play it now, and please make sure to share this. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Today, we are honored to have economist and Professor Dean Baker. Dean Baker is an American macroeconomics economist who co-founded the Center for Economic and Policy Research. Baker has been credited as one of the first economists to have identified the 2007-2008 United States housing bubble. He was a lecturer at the University of Michigan and an assistant professor of economics at Bucknell University. He was also an economist at Economic Policy Institute. Baker has consulted with officials from the World Bank and provided testimony to the Joint Economic Committee of the U.S. Congress and the OECD's Trade Union Advisory Council. Senor Professor Dean Baker, thank you so kindly for spending some time with us here at Politics Done Right. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks a lot for having me on, Egberto.
Well, look, let me tell you, a lot of folks are currently distressed at the ineptitude of the current control of our economic system. So I have a few questions. One of the reasons I wanted to get to you is you wrote a very important article recently that appeared on Common Dreams. But before we get to that, I want to ask you, you've long warned about economic narratives that mask upward distribution. How do Trump's tariffs, marketed as helping the working class, in reality serve the interests of the wealthy elite or corporate sector?
The biggest part of his big, beautiful bill, as he calls it, was this tax cut for the wealthy, that we're seeing a very large tax cut for the wealthiest people in the country. That's about as clear as you can get in terms of upward redistribution. For ordinary people, it provides very little. Now, he was anxious to tout some of what were called populist measures, no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, Social Security. Those, you look more closely, those mean very little to the vast majority of working people. No taxes on tips. There's some people in Las Vegas who get a lot of money in tips and they'll make a couple thousand on that maybe. Most tip workers are mostly women working in restaurants. They're getting $20,000, $25,000 a year. They don't pay any taxes. So they're not going to benefit from that. The no tax on overtime, it was just kind of painful. The reason we have overtime, this dates back to the 30s. It was very explicitly put in to discourage companies from forcing workers to put in long hours. And keep in mind, workers don't have a choice. It's not like I'm going to work overtime. Unless you have a union contract that expressly prohibits mandatory overtime, and very few of those these days, your employer tells you you're working 50 hours this week. If you don't like it, get a new job. What we're doing, making that tax-free, is we're subsidizing it. The overtime premium, 50% wage premium, was to penalize employers. Now we're subsidizing them. If you want to help workers who are putting in long hours, why don't we raise the premium to 75%, make it 100%, have it kick in after 38 hours? We could do things to help workers. This is just subsidizing employers who want to make their workers put in long hours. And the Social Security thing, most people getting Social Security benefits already weren't paying income tax. So this helps, you aren't necessarily rich if you're making $60,000 a year and getting Social Security. That's not a rich person, so you'll get a little money out of that. But that's not exactly the working class masses. So this is about giving more money to rich people. I mean, I could go in, there's a lot of, I'll just call it graft in there, these special interest tax cuts that give a chunk to this person or that person or this company. But this is about giving more money to rich people.
Since you went there, there's a particular part of this bill that I found amusing, and maybe you can tell better about it. But somebody who wants to fund let's say, a religious school, they can do so via SGOs and get back all the money and capital gains from their stocks. Why don't you explain a little bit about that, how that worked?
This is unbelievable from just about any perspective. So it sets up a system where if you're a wealthy person, wouldn't mean anything to you if you, well, at least relatively well-off person, you could set up, in effect, a fake nonprofit, have the money go as a voucher to your own kids, and get that all tax deductible. So it's kind of, we'd had this policy, you can't, we weren't supposed to have public money for religious schools. And this is a way to have public money go to rich schools and for better off people, because obviously if you're a lower income person earning $20,000-$30,000 a year, this won't benefit you. So it's basically a convoluted way to let rich people have tuition for their kids to religious school get paid for by the government.
It is amazing because if I have the whole bill and I put the whole bill through ChatGPT and I would ask it questions to figure out what part of the bills these different things are. And what's amazing is a lot of what Americans read, they will when you read the text of the bill, they would not understand the draconian nature of some of these parts about it. But, going back to tariffs, many working class voters support tariffs under the illusion they protect American jobs. Based on your analysis, do these tariffs actually deliver net gains of to those workers, or are they being sold some sort of a snake oil? But before you answer, it's interesting because one of the reasons one applies a tariff is to ensure that the prices to some extent go up to give an incentive to build here in America. What's the deal?
Yeah, well, needless to say, Trump has been all over the place on tariffs. So let me just say a little bit about the underlying economics. The argument, if I were making an argument for tariffs, and I'll just say, I was concerned. We can't go back and change the past, but I was very concerned about our trade deals, dating back to NAFTA in the 90s, and then certainly made in China and the WTO in 2000. That would cost us a lot of good-paying manufacturing jobs, and they did. And it's very clear in the data. We lost a huge number of manufacturing jobs, particularly in the first decade of this century. We lost around a third of all manufacturing jobs, and they didn't come back. I mean, this predates, we had the Great Recession, 2008, 2009. This predates that. I mean, we lost more in the Great Recession, but most of the job loss actually was before that. It was because of trade. It's very clear. We had very large trade deficits. China was the biggest actor, but not the only one. And that cost a lot of jobs, and particularly union jobs. So we used to have good-paying union jobs in manufacturing. No longer true. Go back to 1980, 30% of manufacturing jobs were unionized, just 15% in the rest of the private sector. Today, those numbers are 8% for manufacturing and just 6% for the rest of the private sector. So it's still a little higher, but it's really not much different. And as a result of that, jobs in manufacturing are no longer particularly good jobs. So we say, okay, we're going to have tariff barriers to try and encourage more jobs in manufacturing. Well, we might get some more jobs in manufacturing, but there's no reason to think there'll be especially good paying jobs. So what do the tariffs do? They raise prices. And again, this is bizarre because you have Trump insisting, oh, no, it's not going to raise prices. You go, well, if it's not going to raise prices, it's surely not going to lead to more jobs, but it will raise prices. It gives some incentive for companies to manufacture here. But again, it's not clear there'll be especially good paying jobs. So why do we want to pay more for cars, for our steel, for clothes, for so many things we buy that are imported, and even the domestically produced goods, those will go up in price too, to get some number of jobs in manufacturing that aren't especially good paying jobs. As someone, a friend of mine put it, the reason manufacturing had good paying jobs was because of the unions, not because of the factories. So, it's really, this is a tax that hits working people. And again, it's an important point to make that tariffs will disproportionately hit low middle income people because two things. One, they spend a larger share of their money. If you take an Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, they spend a lot of money, but it's a very small share of their income because they couldn't possibly spend their whole income even if they wanted to. But secondly, low, middle income people are more likely to spend it on goods that are subject to the tariff rather than services. So you look at higher income people, they're more likely to spend a lot of money on restaurants, vacations, travel, services that are less affected by the tariffs. So this is a very, very regressive tax. It disproportionately hits low, middle income people.
Regressive tax meaning, folks, that it's not a progressive tax. It actually affects those of us without means much more than it affects the others. Now, in your article, you highlight the media's failure to contextualize tariffs within the broader class dynamics. Why do you think the mainstream media so often avoids class-based analysis, even when it's central to economic policy? And to add to that, I mean, we all know that if a rich person gets $1,000, it means nothing. If a poor person gets $1,000, it means a hell of a lot of economic activity. Your answer, sir.
Yeah, I'd say two things. One, the simplest one is laziness. So they tend to do what everyone else does. So there is, very much a herd mentality. They do the same reporting everyone else does. I've harangued reporters endlessly when they report on budget numbers to express them as a share of the budget. So we hear that it was a big issue that Trump didn't like AID, the aid program for largely sub-Saharan Africa. It goes to the world, though. An international aid program dates back to the 60s, supported by people, both parties. President Bush and second Bush actually did a great thing. The AIDS program for Africa saved millions of lives. So anyhow, you hear, we spend $25 billion a year on international aid. And a lot of people going, well, I'd like to help them, but $25 billion, that's a lot of money. Well, it's a lot of money to you and me. It's not a lot of money to the federal government. It's about 0.3% of the budget. Yeah. So if they made a point of just saying 0.3% of the budget, again, you don't want to waste 0.3% of the budget, but you'd understand that's not what's making your taxes high. That's not what's preventing us from having universal health care. It's a small item in the budget. And, reporters, I've harangued reporters endlessly about that. None of them try to tell me that anyone knows what 25 billion means. And no one except for my nose is in the budget. We have some number of people, their nose is in the budget. That's not even 1% of the country. So why not just express it? So that's just laziness as best I could tell. But the other one is just the incentives that, we're saying favoring rich people. If a reporter wrote something that made Jeff Bezos look really bad, or Elon Musk, or any wealthy person, or their companies, they would get called on the carpet. Their editor, if it wasn't their immediate editor, it'd be someone higher up, because Bezos would be on the phone and they'd have lawyers and they'd be yelling at them, and they won't do it again. So you get this bias that way, that if you have reporting that's against the interest of the wealthy, it's going to be corrected, guaranteed. On the other hand, if you have reporting that kind of favors the wealthy, is not informative to the vast majority of the audience, I can complain, you can complain, they don't care about us. So that's it. That's how I understand it. Again, it's a complex issue. I've followed this a long time. And I think it's rarely the case that you have an editor or a publisher calling up a reporter saying, you have to report it this way. But I think what happens is the incentives are clear. If they report it in a way that's bad for those on top, they get chewed on the carpet. If they report it in a way that's good for those on the top, just fine.
That is one of the most important statements in this discussion thus far. I mean, you just gave in effect some marching orders why the independent media must continue to grow and why it must get completely decentralized and bigger, because of exactly what you said.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely essential. And it's been frustrating to me that so many progressives recognize that campaign financing corrupts politics, which of course it does. I mean, you give, Elon Musk is throwing his millions or hundreds of millions out there. Sure, that affects elections, but there's too little appreciation. What people hear between the campaign ads also affects elections. So yeah, you're going to hear the ad for this candidate or that candidate, or why the progressive is a horrible person and whatever, that will affect how you vote. But what you hear between those ads also. So I've been a big fan of having individual tax credits. If we all had $100, pick your sum, we could give it to the media outlet of our choice. That would help foster an independent media that would be very difficult to suppress and would have a huge impact on to my view, public opinion, make people more knowledgeable. Now, some of that will go to right-wingers. That's the way it goes. But the point is, a lot of it could go to good reporting, and that would make a big difference in the world.
Very, very important statement. Now, in the article, you suggest that some tariffs could serve as tools for social bargaining. How might a progressive administration use tariffs differently? Because, we've been beaten up on tariffs, but there are reasons where it could become quite important.
Yeah, historically, both the United States and other countries have used tariffs as a major tool for development. So the United States, we had very high tariffs around the turn of the last century. I mean, I know Trump's running around saying that was the golden age. It wasn't quite the golden age, but we did have rapid economic growth, and it did help foster industry. And same is true. You can look at more recent examples, countries like South Korea and Japan, and most recently China. They have had very extensive tariffs help build up their economies very rapidly. But the point was that they were targeted tariffs, and this is what actually President Biden didn't get nearly the credit he deserved for this. He tried to do this in promoting electric vehicles, promoting clean energy, promoting advanced semiconductor, and they were successful. I mean, it's very clear. We had an incredible boom in factory construction under Biden. It more than doubled from where it was in 2019 before the pandemic. We've never seen anything like that. So it was an incredibly successful policy that he got almost no credit for. And I raised this with Economist. I mean, not the economists are brilliant people, but this is our area, and they don't know. So, look, it's, this isn't some wacky number. I didn't do some extensive research where I had to cut this and that and that and that. No, it's right in the national income and product accounts that's put out by the Commerce Department. It's as clear as day. We saw factory construction more than double between 2019 and 2024. That was because of well-targeted tariffs. So it was a great success. And, and unfortunately, Trump is determined to undermine it every way he can. But that was very successful use of tariffs. So it's not at all, I'd say tariffs are always and everywhere bad. You just have to think about what you're doing with them.
You bring that subject right back to the media. You said it wasn't too hard for you to find this information. Why is it that, that it's not out there when Donald Trump lies and says he was responsible for the manufacturing that it's occurring right now? We know that the IRA and all the other programs really sort of were the catalyst for this. But everybody sits back now and think, well, Donald Trump actually gets something done when he didn't.
Yeah, it's, it was striking because, again, obviously I was following the coverage very closely in the Biden administration, following both the policies. I had friends, who were very involved in the administration and, the coverage of it. And very early on, the media took this twist, and frankly, I date this to the withdrawal from Afghanistan, which they called the disastrous withdrawal. You could see its poll numbers plummeted after that. And I mean, I won't get off on the foreign policy, but I'll just say it was not disastrous. He got a lot of people out, which was, to my view, the main thing, to get people who worked with us whose life might be in danger, get them out. He got 125,000 out. That was pretty damn good. But in any case, his coverage took a twist to the negative, affected everything, and particularly on economics. So they highlighted all the bad news, and there was bad news. We had a pandemic, we had the supply chain problems. That was a worldwide problem. That wasn't a Joe Biden problem. That was a worldwide problem. But they blamed Biden, and they continually harped on every negative thing, ignoring, to my view, incredibly positive things. First and foremost, jobs. We got the unemployment rate down to 4%. By the end of 2021. No one thought that would happen. That was a fantastic thing. And I'd raise this with the reporters and I go, oh, well, no one cares. I go, people don't care about having jobs? I mean, that's kind of bizarre to me. And wages actually rose rapidly for those at the bottom. In fact, we had the most rapid real wage growth. So I'm accounting for it. People go, well, you have to look at prices. I'm looking at prices. So we had the most rapid real wage growth for the bottom 10% of the labor force since the 60s. That's a fantastic story. And we did see real wage growth up and down the income ladder, higher at the bottom, which is great by me, wasn't as high at the top. But that's, again, the direction was positive. And we also had, something almost completely overlooked. We had a huge explosion in people being able to work remotely, to be able to work from home, save people thousands of dollars a year in commuting cost, hours, hundreds of hours. Great thing. Almost no one talked about it. So you got this thing where, oh, Biden's a failure, Biden's a failure, Biden's a failure. And reporters were looking for ways to make that point, in some cases, even inventing it. So I remember the New York Times had an article back in the summer of 2024 talking about a two-tier economy where it said, and it was a lengthy piece, so this wasn't a small item. It said, people at the top, they're doing pretty well, or upper middle income. But if you look at the bottom, and they found a woman who obviously wasn't doing well, her wages had barely risen, her nominal wages, so she'd fallen behind inflation. It even acknowledged that she was atypical. So they went out of their way. They found someone, and obviously in an economy with 160 million workers, of course, some people are losing. That's the world. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's the world. So they deliberately found someone who they knew was atypical to represent lower income people, lower income workers, when they could have easily found someone who had a real wage gain, wages in excess of inflation of 25% over the last 5 years. That's a big deal. Not that they're doing well. I mean, I'm not going to say someone who's earning $20 an hour in 224 and had been earning 15 an hour in 219. I'm not going to say that person's doing great, but they're doing much better. And that's a great story. I mean, I'd love to see them earning 25 an hour, but the world's not going to work that way.
Now, last two questions. What do you think this big, beautiful bill is going to do for the country as a whole, from a socioeconomic standpoint? And also, how dangerous is the current level of debt?
Well, on the first point, I think we are going to see a lot of people hit low, moderate income people. And this is the healthcare issue, that you're taking away healthcare from millions. Well, the estimates are between 12 and 17 million people. Those are rough estimates. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying the nature of what's involved. There's so many things kind of up for grabs. Things will change, hopefully for the better, but they could change for the worse too. So you're taking healthcare away from millions and millions of people, and that's a really horrible story. And again, they're very cynical about that. They're saying we're not taking it away from it. Literally, Speaker Johnson said that. Trump said that. We're not taking it away from anyone. Well, no, you're saving $800 billion. That's their projections. It's kind of like you're saving $800 billion, but no one loses healthcare. How are you doing that exactly? I mean, I could tell stories where we reduce payments to drug companies and whatever, but that's not what they're doing. So a lot of people are going to lose healthcare. That's a really big deal. And part of that story too is it's an integrated system. So when you have Medicaid not making the payments, the hospitals that were getting the payments will go out of business. And that's already happening. So this isn't 0-1. It's a question of how many go out of business. A lot more will go out of business because of the cuts in the program. Also cuts the nutrition programs. They're very pernicious. So there's a lot of other things in there that are going to hit low, moderate income people. That's a very, very bad story in my view. The other part, you asked about the debt. I'm really not worried about the debt. I hate to say that.
Okay.
My good friend Jared Bernstein just had a big column in the New York Times saying how he's worried about the debt. I respect Jared. He's a good economist. He's a good friend. But I don't share that. I guess what I'd say is if we have a healthy economy, we don't have to worry about the debt. So that doesn't mean nowhere ever is it a problem. Deficits might be too high. There are issues. But the idea that if we had a strong, healthy economy, that somehow people aren't going to want to hold their debt, that doesn't make sense. Now, we may not have a strong, healthy economy because we're doing a lot of really foolish policies, the tariffs being one of them, slashing research budgets through the National Institutes of Health, National Science. Those are really, really bad policies. And Trump's anti-immigrant policies, we've all heard stories that, even not that white people should be treated differently, but the reality is it's not even just Indians, dark-skinned people, even, people coming from Germany and Norway are being harassed at immigration. People won't come to the United States. I mean, that hurts tourism, but it also, we're talking about scientific exchange. These people are going to go to other countries. So when we're talking about the top scientists in the world, where we're going to have innovations, that's going to be in Europe, it's going to be in China, it's going to be in India. It's not going to be in the United States. So when I'm saying, should we worry about the debt? Well, if we don't have a strong, healthy economy, yes. But the big problem is we don't have a strong, healthy economy, and Trump's policies are really undermining the strength of the U.S. economy.
Now, Dean, the question I always ask last is, what should I have asked you that I didn't, or what would you like to tell the audience?
Well, I could go on forever, but I'll just say, it is unfortunate. I wouldn't have expected to be in this situation, even with Donald Trump in the White House, because some of the things we're seeing are just so destructive. I was mentioning before about attacking scientific research, attacking scientists. These are really, really big problems, which unfortunately, we'll see the impact more in the long term. I'm saying unfortunately because when you see something right away, people react to it. But when we see we're not having the innovation we should be having, we're falling behind the rest of the world, and that's 2, 3, 4 years out. People are less quick to react to it. So that's the biggest thing, biggest problem in my view. And we're going 180 degrees the wrong way right now.
Dean Baker, American macroeconomist who co-founded the Center for Economic and Policy Research. Thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thanks a lot for having me on. I enjoyed it.
All right, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. Very informative. Very informative. Anyway, welcome aboard, Bruce from Kingwood, Texas. How you doing, Bruce? Para ver. Where are you heading to, Bruce? You said you won't be in Texas for a while. Where are you heading to? You didn't tell me about that. Maywood from Long Beach, California. Welcome, my brother. Great to see what you're doing, sir. Jacqueline Campisi, la profesora, is in the house. I didn't salute you yet. Thank you for being here. Let's see if I got anybody else. I just want to do a quick shout out. Anyway, whoa, you guys have a lot of stuff here that I can't get to right away. We are at, what time is it? 3:38? Oh, yeah, I can get Alaska. Wow. Is it a vacation to Alaska on a boat? Or how are you doing that? You didn't tell me. Wow. I'm proud of you, man. Let's see. Okay, let's see what else I've got here. Paul Fleming says, report, yesterday you said you were not sure who ordered the munitions order to Ukraine. Who ordered the munitions? Have you figured out, Trump? I haven't, though, thought about it. What does it say that such a decision could be made without you knowing? Trump, I would know. If a decision was made, I will know. He said he doesn't know, but if it's made, he will know. Hey, Paul Fleming, that's a good catch. That is a very good catch to show you that this guy, and then they spoke about Biden having a mental issue, right? What do you call that? Hey, do you lie? I see you. Who else do we have? Susan Jagoda, welcome aboard. We also have Vicky, welcome. We also have Susan. You've been very active, Susan. Great to see you here. Odin, welcome aboard. Carmen, welcome aboard as well. Thank you guys all for being here. Femke, if I miss your name, just put your city and state, and I will be able to go ahead and repeat it. Okay. The other story that I wanted to cover today, and let me go ahead and pull it up because I think it would be informative. The title of it's a common dream story, and let me put it on the screen. The title of the story is, let me make sure I get the right one on the screen. Okay, it is 10 ways the GOP's big ugly bill could hurt you. And the first is death by denial of health care. Cuts to the Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act combined with new administrative hurdles to accessing benefits would result in an estimated 51,000 preventable deaths per year. Overall, the new law and other policy changes from the Trump administration will likely strip health insurance from 17 million people. And I am going to tell you that's a small number. Because what they don't tell you there that's inclusive is the rise in price of health insurance will have people throw their hands up into the air and just says to hell with it. I can't do this anymore. Because I know people right now. I know people right now who just say, you know what? Instead of giving $1,200 a month to healthcare, I'll just wing it. And that's what they're doing. They're just winging it. Most Medicaid enrollees already work, and even those who do work can end up without health care if red tape trips up their ability to do so. And it's amazing how easy it is for the red tape to do that to you. I mean, if you're in nursing, let me just say, for those of you who have relatives in a nursing home, Let me give you an interesting thing. If, let's say, they are in a nursing homes, they qualified to be in that nursing home because their home was under $500,000. So they qualified for Medicaid to be in that nursing home. And let's say over the next year, their home appreciated by $25,000 and kicked them out of that limit. Because Medicaid is forcing people to requalify once or twice a year, that person, when that house appreciates, can actually be thrown out. Do you, Mr. Willis, have health insurance? Yes, I do have health insurance. My wife works as a school bus driver just for insurance. Okay. I used to pay health insurance on the when before Obama. Let me tell the story before I finish this because thank you for the question. All right. Do you lie? Says my best hurdle advice to get over not health insurance is to get a job with benefits. Yeah. Here's the problem. Do you lie? Most jobs today do not give you a job with benefits. And even the jobs with benefits today come with lousy insurance policies. I know too many people in good jobs working for good companies that the HMO or PPO that the job has signed up for is no good or doesn't support, let's say, MD Anderson or something like that. Let me tell you better. Uh, our good friend Tom Hartman. And by the way, Tom Hartman is going to be out on the 9th here in Houston. Sign up for him. Go to kpft.org and sign up for Tom Hartman. He's going to be here. He's going to be here on the 9th. Now, other companies, right? Good companies, they will get these insurance companies that give you policies that have all these exceptions that never used to be there in the past. Let me tell you better. New York City retirees that are on Medicare, because the bill is paid through the union went ahead and dropped Medicare and decided, or they were considering dropping Medicare and going with Medicare Advantage. And Medicare Advantage, as you know, is private health insurance, and it had the same bad policy that the regular private insurance has. You can't use this doctor, you can't use X, Y, and Z. But let me tell you something that came over the wire over the last few days. I got to bring back the whistleblower from the insurance companies that I've had on before. What's the medical whistleblower? I want to get his name right so you guys can look him up. Whistleblower insurance. I subscribe to his Substack. I'm actually a paid subscriber to his Substack because he's really good. What is the name of I want to get that for you guys. Very important. Name of whistleblower insurance guy. Let's see if that'll give me one of them. Yeah, you're right, but sometimes in network isn't good though. And that's the problem. Wendell Potter. I've interviewed Wendell Potter on this show before. He was the insurance whistleblower. He comes out and he tells you all the dirty tricks that the insurance companies use. But anyway, now with Donald Trump in power, they're trying to make it that Medicare, if you go to traditional Medicare and your doctor say you need this medicine and you need this procedure, that's what you get. The doctor is a traffic cop for your needs. Most doctors are honorable. Well, now they want to try in certain areas to see if traditional Medicare needs to have pre-clearing as well. That is something we are going to fight to the T. We are not going to make traditional Medicare turn into Medicare Advantage. We won't allow that. We will not allow that. So we don't want pre-clearing on traditional Medicare. We leave that to the private companies. We, the people, want good insurance. Okay? Continuing with the story, the second hospital, I gave you the first way the bill is going to kill you. The second thing, hospital apocalypse. The budget reduces the allowable Medicaid provider taxes that many states use to fund this vital program. The threat is particularly severe for rural hospital, red states, right? Rural hospitals, because they rely more heavily on Medicaid revenue than urban facilities. More than 700 rural hospitals are already at risk of closure, and at least 338 rural hospitals, including hospitals in nearly every state, are at increased risk to change is in this budget. To buy off critics, Republicans included a rural health fund that expected to cover less than 1/3 of the projected losses. There you go. So, my MAGA listeners that have family in rural areas or that you yourself are in rural area, I promise not to say I told you so. Nah, I'm not going to hold that promise. I'll try not to. But look, we've been warning you about Donald Trump coming at you, not at the others, at you. Third item, taking food from the mouths of hungry people. New work requirements for supplemental SNAP, okay? Benefits will take food assistance from millions. Right now, if you take a look at the food banks are crying because even before these cuts, people have been starving in America. I know you don't see it. You don't make that on TV. You don't see that on TV. But Americans are starving. There are a lot of Americans starving. A lot of Americans in rural areas, a lot of Americans in the inner city having problem. A lot of Americans in the suburban areas. Remember, one thing about Americans is we know how to suffer in silence. I've found out things about neighbors and I'm talking about recently, when they listened to my program. One of them came over and said, "Man, you are empathetic. I have to get this off of my chest." And they came and revealed a few things about what is occurring in my town, man. What is occurring in their lives financially, economically, etc. And I had to sit back and I'm like, wow. And if you're listening right now, you know I feel your pain. America suffers in silence. And I wish it weren't that way, because when Americans suffer in silence, other people that are suffering think they are alone. And if they think they're alone, they don't come together to fight the power. So, what I want to tell our PDR family is PDR, we are family. That means Politics Done Right Posse. And there are a lot of good listeners. I can tell you there are people in this chat that's been with me for over 10 years. Right now, that's been following this program, the Politics Done Right, from the time we were at Coffee Party. That they're right here. And you can find them just by how they speak in the chats. Check them out. If you have something, bounce it off of them or bounce it off of me. You can always reach me at info@politicsdoneright.com. All right, the other way, taking food from the mouths of the hungry. I got that. Squeezing snack from states. The VITAL program has always been federally funded, but the newly passed budget will require states to take on a significant share of the costs. This unprecedented burden shift will likely lead many states to cut enrollees or even terminate food aid programs for the first time since their inception. Why? Because most states have to have a balanced budget. So if they get less money from the federal government for SNAP and other programs, the state just has to cut the programs. They don't have a choice. They have to have a balanced budget. And most states will not raise taxes for the poor. Barring lawful present immigrants from aid, hundreds of thousands of lawfully present immigrants, including children who fled persecution and violence in their home countries in search of safety in the U.S., will lose access to Medicaid, the Children's Health Insurance Program, Medicare, ACA tax credits, and SNAP benefits. and 2.6 million US citizen children who live with only an undocumented adult are expected to lose their child tax credit. I don't know if I can express how evil that is. What would Jesus say? For those of you who are Christians, what would Jesus say? That is evil. You know, you can go to any country in the world. You can go to France. You can go to Denmark. And nobody is going to deny you care or throw you off of stuff. I remember when we were having the Occupy Kingwood over the Occupy movement. And this woman vacationed in it was Germany. And she got seen by a doctor. She got very, very sick. She got seen by a doctor. I think it cost her like a $25 stuff to see the doctor. And and something else happened. And then she had the medicine for like $6. And she said by the time she got home, by the time she got home, there's a check for $1.06. And it was, oh, you overpaid for your medication that cost you $6 here. I mean, these countries, the humaneness in the way they handle healthcare compared to the capitalist fraud that we use in our own country is shameful. We should be ashamed to the core. We should be ashamed. Exactly, Yvette Avery Herod. You're absolutely right. All right, let's see what else we got here. Another one, takes from the poor to give to the rich. Well, we all know that. That is a common notion that was just codified here. And we've gone over many of those. Leaving corporations to enjoy their spoils. Yes. Rewarding polluters while raising energy costs. Yes. Funding war and enriching war profiteers. Look. The budget, the new budget is a bastion of immorality. A bastion of immorality. A bastion of hate. But anyway, I got about 5 minutes for people to call. Let's go ahead and give me a call, 281-823-7747. Una vez más, lo voy a repetir, 281-823-7747. Give me a call if you have anything to say. Give me a call if you want to tell me if you like the interview. We have another interview that I already played on Substack, but I'm going to play within the context of Politics Done Right. Give me a call again. That is 281-823-7747. I got so many numbers I forget. You know, the morning number is different. 281-823-7747. Hey, Bruce, remember that you are the one responsible for me going ahead and taking out this phone again. And here we go to the number again. Hey, Tom Zarnick is in the house. How you doing, Tom? Where is my next limerick? Tom, you haven't had a limerick in a long time, my brother. We are waiting for your limerick. Jacqueline Campisi says, sometimes it's better to say you don't have insurance. Guess what, Jacqueline? I'm glad you said that. Let me give you a little story. My wife had to go get a lung... John Davis, welcome aboard, John. How you doing? It looks like another.
I'm
where
fine.
is that? Where is that? Okay, I think another one is coming in.
As
All right.
far as
The other call coming as well. John, what's up?
yeah, I just wanted
Are you
to
there,
say
John?
that yeah, I'm here. Yeah, can you hear me? Hello,
John, are you there?
yes, I am. Yeah, can you hear
Okay,
me?
you're talking, but I'm not hearing you. Okay, let me see if I can fix that. I know you're talking because I see the levels, but I can't hear you. Let me see if I have the map incorrect or something like that. I don't know why I can't see your voice. So let me check a setup here. I'm sorry about that. That has to be my fault, but I'm not sure if I let's see, line number 2. All right. No, it looks like it's connected. Huh. Why am I not
Yeah,
hearing John?
I
Are
can
you
hear
talking,
you.
John? Let's see if you can talk again.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can
Yeah,
you
I
hear
see the
me?
signal going, but I can't hear you. Huh.
That's weird.
I can't hear you. Let's see if I can do a backdoor something here. Wow, I hate when this happens. And I don't understand what is happening here. Let's see if I can send it to another signal. Bear with me 1 second. Oh yeah, it's not signaling to me for some reason. All right, it looks like I can't take calls for right now. I'm sorry, John. So sorry about that. It seems like
Oh,
there's a setup here that I'm going to have to configure later on and figure out why it just happened to stop working. Let's see if this one will work. Okay, anybody there?
This is
Okay, yeah,
Brother Harry.
I can't hear it. Let me see if I can put it on to line 3. Track
Can you hear
3.
me?
Let's see if I can get it. I'm going to try one other trick to see if it works. Keep talking. Let's see if I can get it to work. Up. Let's see.
Yeah, can you hear me? This is Harry.
Nope, 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 nope. Guys, I'm so sorry. Forgive me. I'll have it working tomorrow. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, we are at the close of our program. Tom Zarnik will have a new limerick for us tomorrow or soon thereafter. You know, we love Tom Zarnik's limericks, which I usually recite just fine. But since I got to get out of here, got to go to the gym, you know, you can't stay in front of the computer. You have to get a little exercise in. So I'm going to head off to the gym. But before I head off, I'd like to ask you all, what I do at the end of every show, to ask you so kindly, those of you who have the wherewithal, to help us spread the message, help us inform. And again, we inform in every direction. It's not working, guys. It's not working. Don't call. It's not working. It's not working. I'll get it fixed later. But what I'd like to ask you, my dear brothers and sisters, is to please become paid supporters of our newsletter, which subsidizes all that we do here. And how can you become a paid subscriber? You can become a paid subscriber by going to politicsandright.com/newsletter. politicsandright.com/newsletter. All paid subscribers get access to all of our books. All 5 of my books and all subsequent books that I write will be on Substack for you to hear. Yeah, Lisa, it was my problem here. I'll have to fix that. So please, my dear brothers and sisters, those of you who can support the project, we have a lot of work to do. It's going to be difficult. So please support us. Actually, Ernie Boxall, asking people to support the program is not capitalism, right? Because whether you support the program or not, you get to listen to the program. It's a moral thing here. I'm asking folks to support us, those who can. So no, I think you got that all wrong. You got that all wrong, my dear brother Boxall. But that's okay. I know you give me a hard time all the time, but that's okay. So please, folks, please support the program. Go to politicsandright.com/newsletter, politicsandright.com/newsletter. I'm putting it in each chat again, and I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics and Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EG BERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.